right, we're going to call to order our public hearing here. Item B, declaration of a quorum. 7 members present. We welcome everybody. It brings us to item C, public hearing, consideration and discussion related to the 2022 financial management report based on the 2020-2021 fiscal year, an overview of schools first system and most recent rating for College Station Independent School District. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. Horak and board members. And here with our required annual financial management report and first rating is our CFO, Ms. Amy Droz.
Thank you, Mr. Martindale, Mr. Horak, members of the board and the public. We're here tonight to hold a required public hearing, as mentioned, on College Station ISD's first rating. It is a 2022 report. That report is in a bound copy. I think many of you have it at your place, or there's some at the front door if you wish to review it. It is also on our website. But it is the 2020-2021 data. The reason is it uses the financial report for our last fiscal year, which was August 2021. It takes a while to get all of that compiled and submitted to Texas Education Agency. So the deadline for that is January of 2022, which is why this report seems like it's a year late, but it's actually, data that the TEA just really had since January, and they have to analyze it. So first of all, what is FIRST? It's the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. It's an accountability rating system that Texas Education Agency came up with in 1999 that is to hold school districts accountable for the quality of their financial management practices and improved performance. It's rated on 20 indicators. Those numbers of indicators have gone up and down over the years, but currently we have 20 established indicators. So there's 4 possible ratings. A superior achievement, or an A, is the highest possible score for districts. A B is what they consider is above standard. C is standard achievement, and F is substandard achievement. So I'm very pleased to report that the 2022 report has College Station ISD at superior achievement, or an A, the highest possible score. We had 94 points out of 100, and we'll go over those briefly. Again, it was 20 indicators, 4 of which are critical. 5 are considered ceilings, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit more. And 12 are other, or just points. So first, the 4 critical indicators. The first one being that the annual financial report is issued and submitted timely. As mentioned, for an August 31 year end, that has to be done by the end of January the following year. The district must have an unmodified opinion on their annual financial report, which of course we did. Debt payments, we have to be in compliance of, that they were all paid timely and in the correct amounts. And all of our payments to state and government entities must have been made timely. That's teacher retirement, IRS, and any other government agency that there is. College Station ISD passed all of these. Any district that does not pass one of them automatically receives that F rating. So the rest of the indicators are what they call solvency, and it measures our financial stability. So indicator number 5 is what they call unrestricted net position balance. This indicator was not rated this year, also wasn't rated in the previous year. This is because of some governmental accounting standards that were changed and some reporting that was going to cause school districts to, that's going to fluctuate whenever that was implemented. So they automatically just did not score that one. That was a reporting change. Number 6 is what they call one of the ceiling indicators. So when you look at that, if you do not pass it, then it does not matter what the rest of the points are. You have a maximum point value that you can get. And this was the average change in fund balance over 3 years has to be less than a 25% decrease, or our assigned and unassigned fund balance has to exceed 75 days of operational expenses. And we as a group talk about that one a lot. You can see the numbers there. We were slightly below that 75-day mark. You don't really know that until after we get done with our audited report, but you can see we did meet the 25% decline test. We were well under that mark. So we passed that indicator. Number 7 is the number of days of cash on hand and investments. Are they sufficient to cover our operating expenses? And we got the full 10 points there. Was the measure of current assets to current liabilities sufficient to cover our short-term debt? So when they look at those two numbers that were there and they determine the ratio, a 3.0 or higher receives the full 10 points. And then anything below is rated dependent or prorated depending on what that score is. We had 2.15, so that equates to 6 out of 10 points on that one. So was general fund revenue equal to or exceed expenditures? Or if that is not so, that your expenditures exceeded revenue, then did you have enough cash on hand to meet 60 days of expenditures? So we have full 10 points on that one as well. The budget to actual revenue comparisons. This was another indicator that was not scored because of the pandemic. So we have to, when we submit our original budget and we bring that to the board, they're going to compare that to actual. And if we miss it by a certain percentage, then we will not get all of these points. But because of COVID and attendance issues and enrollment issues, they did not score that this year. Was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets sufficient to support our long debt solvency? Again, this one is depending upon what that ratio is, if you'll get all the points. And we have 8 out of a possible 10. I will tell you that any growing district normally does not get all 10. Growing, what I mean, is in student enrollment and property values. The reason is we have to now record what they call all of our pension liabilities for all of our employees. And so that's a pretty large number. And when you do that, it inflates your liabilities. So it's not uncommon for a district that is growing to not get all 10 points here. Was debt per $100 of assessed property value sufficient to support our future debt payments? We got a full 10 points there. Our district's administrative cost ratio, it goes by enrollment. If a district has 10,000 or more students, they want it to be at 0.0855 or 8.55%. College Station was at 6.98%, so we received the full 10 points. Did the district not have a 15% decline in the student to staff ratio over 3 years? So again, the full 10-point value there. And was our district's average daily attendance within that specific range of budget? Similar to that revenue, they also did not score this one because of the pandemic. This had to do because of statewide attendance was low and they were not going to penalize us for that. So it was very hard to budget. So then we have some more ceiling indicators. So when we submit our data to this data, it's called PEMS data, and they'll compare that to our annual financial report. And if there's a variance of larger than 3% differences, then as long as it's less than 3%, we passed. And so that was, all of our data did match our annual financial report. And did the external auditors report in our financial report, or were we free of any instances of material weaknesses and internal controls? We were free of any material weaknesses, so we passed that ceiling indicator as well. And as mentioned, if you didn't, then you have a maximum score that you can receive. So did the external auditors indicate that the financial report was free of any material non-compliance with grants? Again, we did not have any instances of that. And did we post our required financial information on our website? That is worth 5 points. So that was all posted in a timely fashion. And then our last indicator was, did the school board members discuss the district's property values within 120 days of adopting a budget? And yes, we did that. We start in normally about February talking about the next year's budget and put property values on that report. So we did meet that 120-day indicator. I think we talk about property values on every budget update from February on, so we get that one as well. So in addition to all of the financial data and these scores, there's some required disclosures in the report. The first required disclosure is the superintendent's contract, which is included within the report as well as on the website. We have to report reimbursements received by the superintendent or board members. This is travel reimbursements, that sort of thing. And when you look at the report online or in the packet, you'll think we missed something because they're blank. But this was a COVID year. Most travel was all canceled. So there's very little on that report. So it's not an error. We did not forget to fill it out. There was very little travel in this fiscal year that we're reporting. We also must report any outside compensation or fees received by the superintendent and board members, and there were none, so that report is also blank. And if there's any business transactions between the school district and a board member, and there is not, if there were, of course, that board member would have to abstain. And the last other required disclosure was any gifts received by the superintendent or board members. There was also none, but all of those reports are in the packet. So that is all of the required disclosures. So with that, that's kind of a brief summary of our report, and so I'll take any public comments or questions there might be at this time.
I'm going to ask a couple of questions, but obviously wonderful to see that we got the 94. Thank you for your hard work on it and all the team's hard work on it. Two questions. One, when you were mentioning the liabilities, I was kind of interested to hear what was covered in that bucket of our liabilities. I was surprised of what you mentioned. Yeah.
Well, there's actually two different balance sheets that are reported. One is similar to it's the balance sheet that gets reported based on the budget that you as Board of Trustees adopt. So it is strictly revenue, and it's a cash basis. Cash comes in, cash goes out. So the other one is more like private industry, where we depreciate assets. But the other thing that is required is we have to establish what's the pension liability or TRS liability of our employees and calculate that at that time and record it on the balance sheet. And that's what's creating this huge liability. So it's something that the district very likely would never have to pay. It's a state liability, but we must report it. And the financial statements you see online, I believe it's Exhibit A1, if anybody wants to go look at that.
I guess my only other thought is about that 75 days of operating expenses, because I know we kind of try to make sure we keep that. I mean, is that something we should be concerned about? Do you think we're going to get that back up to that level?
We've adjusted it, and you as board have to approve any adjustments we make out of committed fund balance. That's what is not calculated in there. And so we calculate it and estimate it. We did bring some recommendations to make a change that we thought would get in there. I do recall whenever we did that, I also made this 25% calculation to ensure that we would meet that if the other one did not pass. So because we met the other one, there are no concerns, but we wanted to make sure that we at least reserved for some of those catastrophic events and construction-related things that, of course, with the roofs and the damage we had, we did use some of that last year.
All right, that's it. Thanks from me.
Very good questions. Thank you. Anything else?
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
That'll bring us to item D, public comment. Anything? We have none. That will adjourn us. Item E.